Hello YouTube, Jeff Bosco here. So recently, as most people in the online drumming world know, Tim Herb Alexander has been in the news for unfortunate reason, his sudden and unceremonious departure from Primus. But because of that, it kind of reignited this obsession I've had but had put on the shelf in the past few years, which is basically recreating his kick drum sound from both the Pork Soda album and the Sailing the Seas of Cheese album. And this would have been the kit he recorded with the Pork Pie kit. The problem was, there was never really a lot of good information about his setup, what heads he was using, mics or anything like that. It happened to be good timing for me because I had basically learned a lot about recording kick drums, and it was never something I was particularly good at up until a few years ago, and I really started to figure things out. So I had gotten to the point where I could get the same kick sound every single time I set up. It was a big moment for me because it took me a long time to get there. And I basically decided to come up with a plan of how I was going to recreate this sound. And instead of, twaddling on about that, I'm just going to take you over to the computer and show you what I did. All right, so step number one was choosing which kick I was going to do this with. I ended up, and I'll show it on the screen there, I ended up picking my Sonor Centennial Phonic. Based on the research I did, his kicks were probably 22 by 18. I've seen some people say they were 22 by 20, but I was looking at just looking at the Woodstock 94 footage, and it looked more like 18. I had to ask myself, is the dimensions of it, is that part of what I like about this sound? And I decided it probably wasn't, and in anything, it kind of detracts from what I like about it. So for me, I usually prefer shorter depth kick drums, and after I decided to just go back to the very basics, like what is this sound? And it's basically a modern metal kick sound mixed with a Bonham big open kick drum sound. And I had already figured out how to get something like a Bonham sound. The part of it that always tripped me up was how I was going to get the modern clicky kind of metal sound. So yeah, so here are some of the steps. There was some talk about maybe he didn't use front heads to record this. So my thought was, okay, well, let's test that. And as you see in the picture, that Centennial Phonic, I just had a Remo Smooth White on the batter side. I decided just to take the front head off, and record that. And I'm going to, I have a bunch of processing on here. I'm going to take off all my processing on the individual tracks. Well, at least the kicks anyway. And I need my headphones for this. I really prepare for my videos. Okay, so this was test number one. I'm going to start here. All right, so I have a picture of how I mic this. And this is basically with the batter head pretty loose. And here I can already tell that trying to get this sound with that head wasn't going to work. So I had bought a Power Stroke 3 for this experiment, and there's not a lot of good information. Some people say he probably had a pinstripe for the recording, and if you look at the picture of the pork pie kit set up at the museum, in the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix, it has Power Strokes on it, but you know, I bought it based on that, and then I realized, wait a minute, that's probably not a good indicator of what was on the kit 30 something years ago. But it was kind of like a rash decision. But I took the smooth white head off, put the Power Stroke. I took the internal muffling ring out of the Power Stroke 3 to make it kind of more like a pinstripe would have been. My thought was, you know, I could always add muffling, but it's hard to take it away. And so this is basically the same setup with the same miking, just with the Power Stroke 3 with the muffling ring removed on it, and no Rezo head. And that's with the patch, the impact patch. I didn't do a separate test without it, and I didn't figure there would be much point. And here's just some of that playing. And you know, you could hear that click, that clicky sound is already starting to develop. But based on this test, it was pretty obvious that Tim was using a front head. To me, that definitely sounds like there's a front head on there, at least of some variety, and mostly uncut. So for the next test, I took the smooth white head and put it on the front, and I think this is it. Now it's almost, Tim's sound is almost certainly not with no no hole in the front head. There's definitely at least a small hole in the front head. But what I ended up doing for this test was I took, so obviously I couldn't get the inside mic inside the drum as close as it was in the previous tests, for obvious reasons. So it was just basically on the outside, pointing at the kick, pointing at the beater. So what I ended up doing is I took a sample from the previous test and I mixed it in, and so I just replaced that, that one particular kick mic, so it almost acts as if it's the internal. Without it, with it. And right at that moment, when I came back and reviewed this, I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. And for the next test, I cut a hole in the front head. That is the smooth white head. And let's take that off again. And I actually, when I stuck the kick in mic, I was able to get it like, less than an inch from the beater, and that's how this test was done. And up to this point, the batter head was kind of just a little tighter than just tight enough to make a tone. So it wasn't incredibly loose, but it was pretty loose. And the resonant head was somewhat loose, just maybe like a third higher at this point. And I was really excited because that to me is, even if it's not perfect, this is the qualities I was looking for. But I said to myself, I do have a tendency to settle too quickly, so I did one more test. So to me, that sounded like it was a little bit too clicky, and there's maybe a little too much low end. And so I decided to tune the resonant head up just a little bit, and then just pull back on the internal mic just a tiny bit. This was the result. Editing Jeff here. I just realized that when I was doing the demo of the last test, I forgot to turn off the trigger plugin. And here's the last test. Much better. All right. I didn't actually learn it. I was just playing it from memory, and then I just I found the isolated bass track and kind of tried to line it up. So please forgive my sloppy playing, but yeah. So that's pretty much how I did it. If there's any other drum sounds you want me to try and recreate, let me know. I do have a postscript, which is funny, because I'm going to go to... here's something funny, because after I did this, I was just messing around, and I came up on one of these shorts that I did, because I bought a 24x14 about a year ago, and it randomly came up, and I started listening to it. And I had somewhat forgotten about this. I hadn't listened to that in a while. This was last February. I ended up buying a coated ambassador for the front of this drum because I realized, I remember this now, but I didn't remember this when I started doing this again. I realized how close that kick drum sound is to what I was going for. And I figured out that if I put the coated ambassador on the front of that and was able to get the mic, the internal mic in there, I would have gotten pretty close. So what are you gonna do? I forget when I'm such a space shot that I forget things when I figured them out. But it is what it is. I got there again. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to put that ambassador on the 24x14 and try this test again, but and just see what the differences are. It's a very similar setup. I mean, that's got a CS black dot on it. Not a huge difference. They're both 10 mil heads. So, and the one's coated and the other one's smooth, and shouldn't be too big of a difference. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.